everybody, welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L, and as always, I'm joined by...
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
Woo! And once again, we're picking a DC comic book here. Why don't you tell everybody what we're reading?
Well, it's your pick, Michael. Why don't you tell the people?
Okay, fine. It's another Charlton superhero, published by DC, The Question, by Denny O'Neil, Dennis Cowan, and some other people. Number 1.
From 1987.
Yeah.
Now, Michael, I didn't know much about The Question.
Okay.
So I did some research on them. And I'm going to tell you all about that research that I did right now.
Sure.
All right, here we go.
Can't wait.
Do you know his real name, the character's real name? They mentioned it in the book.
Yeah, it's Victor Sajazm. I don't know how to pronounce it.
I just wanted to see you try and say it. His real name is Charles Victor Saz, I guess? S-Z-A-S-Z? Saz?
I guess so, yeah.
That is a terrible name for a character.
But it's cool. You know why it's cool, right?
Why is it cool?
Oh, crap. No, it's not cool. Because I thought when I was reading the book, what are those words called where you can spell them both?
I believe a palindrome, right?
A palindrome? And I thought it was when I was reading it, but when I look at Wikipedia, it's not a palindrome.
Yeah, that's right.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah, it's a terrible name. I don't know. Have you ever encountered anyone in all your travels, Michael, whose last name is Saz?
Oh, yeah. Up in Canada, it's like Smith. They're everywhere.
Yes, of course. I guess he also goes by the alias Victor Sage.
Right.
So, and he was created by Steve Ditko.
Yes.
First appearance was on Charlton Comics' Blue Beetle issue 1, 1967. We did a Blue Beetle on this here show not too long ago.
That's right.
And it was terrible.
It was awesome.
So now,
yes.
After doing The Question. But Michael, The Question was a watered-down version of Ditko's Mr. A.
Yeah, I wasn't sure who was first, so Mr. A was first then.
Yeah, he created Mr. A. For those not familiar with Mr. A, when Ditko left The Amazing Spider-Man there, he did his own thing and he created this character. And he was way into objectivism and Ayn Rand. Are you familiar with your objectivism, Michael?
Vaguely.
Yeah, did you ever read any Ayn Rand?
No, what about you?
Yeah,
Really?
Atlas Shrugged and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm a literature major, Michael. Yeah.
Ah, okay.
All right. But yeah, I never liked her. Terrible.
Well, yeah.
Objectivism. Here's a quote by Ayn Rand to describe what objectivism is. My philosophy, in essence, is the concept of man as a heroic being, with his own happiness as the moral purpose of his life, with productive achievement as his noblest activity, and reason as his only absolute. So yeah, just think of all the things in the world that make the world terrible. That's basically people.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. Yep.
A bunch of selfish jerks, the objectivists. But so he was way into that, Ditko. So he created Mr. A, who was kind of like really hardcore. He would be kind of a dick to his villains. He wasn't like Spider-Man-y. He was dickish. All right. Anyway. So he was a little too hardcore though for Charlton Comics, so he decided to water it down a bit, and he created The Question.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
Kind of like the same guy, but just not quite as way into objectivism.
Sure.
So The Question was featured in backup stories of the Blue Beetle, but Charlton ended their line of action heroes in December 1967. Just 4 issues after the Blue Beetle had been published.
Ooh, really? I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, there's been several volumes of the Blue Beetle over the years. Like that, I think that was volume 2 even. I think there's one in 1964.
Okay.
But then I think they did put out a 5th issue later. Wait, let me read this note here. Yeah, a 3-part question story which Ditko had already penciled appeared in a one-shot comic book called Mysterious Suspense in October 1968. And one 5th and final issue of Blue Beetle featuring The Question was published in November of that same year. So almost a year later, they put out another issue. But,
interesting.
It was already done, all that work, so nothing new. But then DC bought the Charlton characters. What year was that, Miguel? 1983?
Around there, yep.
Yep. So then in 1987, the question got his own series, which we'll be reading here today, and it lasted 36 issues.
Yeah.
I guess he also appeared briefly in Crisis.
Probably like one panel, yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, this was the first reintroduction of the question. And then, Michael, you said he also inspired Rorschach.
Yes. All of the characters in Watchmen are based on Charlton characters, and obviously Rorschach is based on the question.
Yeah, not to be confused with Horshack
right.
of Welcome Back, Kotter.
Right.
So he did not inspire Horshack. All right. So what else about the question here, Michael? Why don't you, what's his big gimmick? He's known for, he's very distinctive looking. Tell the kids about his basic gimmick.
Well, he wears a suit and, like what's that? What kind of hat is that? Whatever kind of hat. Fedora. But the key thing about him is he has no face.
Yeah. His eyes and mouth and nose, it's all like clogged up.
Right.
With skin. Because I was wondering about this, because you think with no face, like maybe Cobra Commander-ish? You know how Cobra Commander had that mask, the silver mask that was flat? So you think, well, maybe that's kind of what it is, just flat. But he actually still has, like, if you looked at him from the side, he still has a profile.
Yeah, so basically, I think, and to be honest, I hadn't really read much question before this, but it's just like some kind of material that's just put over his face.
Yeah, it's like a silly putty that he puts on his face, and then he sprays it with a special gas, and the gas molds it to his face, and it adheres there, and he can breathe through it and see through it and everything.
Right.
But it just covers up his whole face. Now, there is a key difference between the original question and this question.
Okay.
Maybe I'll wait till we get into the book and I'll point it out. But, yeah, how do you feel about the, you can still see his nose? Because would it be cooler if it was like flat?
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm just asking.
I don't know. I mean, like I'd have to kind of look at the book, but like even the opening, we'll talk about this in a minute, but this opening splash page, I love that shot of his face. And you can see his nose there. Is that what you mean? Just the outline of his face? Like or his nose, the silhouette?
Yeah, they show like shadowing where his eye sockets and his
I think that's okay.
nose would be. You know what I
mean?
You
just think it should be completely flat?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I don't know. I'm not saying it would be.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I like them both. Right. Now, should we point out that question also appears in the Justice League Unlimited cartoon?
You could point that out if you want.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone would care.
It's really cool, yes. Well, more people have seen that cartoon than will ever read a comic book, so...
So is he, like, in that cartoon, is he like Rorschach? Or is he a little softer?
He's softer than Rorschach. He's kind of in between. He's got a very interesting, like, unique voice, like not what you'd expect from an animated, TV show. And they really play up his paranoia, they make it a little bit funny. Like, I think in one episode he believes that the Girl Scouts are like a cover for some secret organization or something like that. Like, he's always got something going, like all these, it's almost like Agent Mulder. Like, he's got all these crazy theories and he thinks they're all true. And I think most of them are true, but they kind of play it for laughs a little bit. But he is a really cool character in that show.
Yeah, we should point out his alter ego, the Victor Sage alias he goes by. He's an investigative journalist.
Right.
And he's always investigating corruption. And he does have a lot of conspiratorial thoughts and thinking, And so he's always thinking something's going on. So that's cool, because I'm a proud conspiracy theorist, and I enjoy that. But I got to tell you, Mike, spoiler alert, I was really disappointed in this book.
You skipped right to the end there. What happened?
I was actually looking forward to this. This might be pretty cool. But
I'll say one thing. There's some things I really liked and some things I really didn't like, but I'll save that for the end.
All right, let's get into. Well, real quick, we already talked about these creators in the past, but Denny O'Neil, Dennis O'Neil, right?
Yeah, both.
Yeah. My father is a police officer, and one of his fellow coworkers was named Denny O'Neil, so that's why I always think Denny O'Neil.
Really?
But Dennis O'Neil, he wrote all 36 issues of this year book. And so we've talked about him many times on the show. He did a lot of Batman stuff. So.
Yeah, and very, in my opinion, mixed bag. Like, he's kind of got this legendary reputation, but I have not really enjoyed much of what I've read from him, so.
Yeah, I seem to recall. Did he write that one? Remember that one Christmas Batman story that was really bad?
Yes, that was him. Exactly. It was terrible. He also had a run on Spider-Man that was terrible. He had a run on Iron Man that was terrible. Daredevil run was terrible. So
if that doesn't get you excited for this question book,
woo!
I don't know what will.
Here we go.
The artist, Dennis Cowan, and he spells Dennis Denyys.
Yeah, weird.
Now, I wasn't sure if we'd ever done a book by him, but we had, Michael.
Yes.
Would you like to tell the kids?
Detective Comics number, was it 600?
It was 600, the one that cousin Brandon picked.
Yes.
Remember that?
Under no duress from me, anyway.
But yeah, I couldn't remember, because when I started looking him up, I'm like, wait a minute, I know this guy. We've talked about this before, because he was like Rich Buckler's assistant and everything. So I'm like, I know I did all this research before. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, Detective Comics 600. I didn't remember it, and neither did cousin Brandon, because he fell asleep halfway through.
Right.
But Dennis Cowan, he drew issues 1 through 19 and then 21 through 36. So he just missed issue 20.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah. Fuck you. But all right, those are the creators.
Well, are we going to talk about who did the cover?
Well, yeah, when we look at it right now.
All right.
Let's look at that cover. It's a great cover.
Yes. This is by Bill Cinkevich, who's famous for many things. New Mutants, Moon Knight, he's also just kind of like known as an experimental kind of abstract artist, but he's still, working today, and he's one of my favorites. I love him.
He's more like graphic design-y.
Yeah,
He paints all his covers. And this cover's spectacular. But Michael, notice how Cinkevich draws the question. You know what I'm saying?
Good point. No features on the face, just a blank. That's true.
Just flat. And I think this is better.
Yeah, you could be right. Yep. Yeah, basically this cover, so we got the question in the center. We have a kind of smoky or scribbly question mark going around his face. Then
it's like gun smoke. Like the smoke out of a gun.
Right.
It's spiraling up into be a question. Yeah.
Right. And then we have the cover is kind of divided into panels, sort of. There is on the left side, on the left panel, that's Lady Shiva. She's holding a gun. That's inside another. Or
as I like to call her, Elektra. It looks just like.
A little bit. You could say that. Yep.
Same little head bandana and everything.
Yeah. She's holding a gun, and that's where the smoke is coming out of. And then at the bottom,
notice Cinkevich puts a little yellow box around the gun and everything. The highlight of the gun.
Yep. Smart. Good design. And then sort of at the bottom right. Well, no, actually on the right we have 3 kind of gangsters with guns, kind of looking cool. And then in the middle of all this, there's a picture of like a full body shot of the question. And then below that, there's another scene of a bunch of cops getting shot at by another guy. So it's a very complex, busy cover, but it all works. Design-wise, it's perfect.
Yeah, and there's a cop dead in the foreground.
And it's painted. I don't think I mentioned that, but this is a painted cover. So
Yeah, I mentioned he does the painting and everything. So, Cinkevich, when you see it, oh my God, it's Bill Cinkevich. As soon as you see it.
Right. One other thing I'll point out is in this book, I believe they used the word ass. So I can only assume this was mature readers, but it doesn't say so on the cover, so I don't know.
I didn't even catch them using the word ass.
Yep.
I must have missed it. But yeah, Michael, look, notice no corner box. We got the DC slug there in the top left, and then we just get number 1 over in the top right.
Very cool, yep. See, this is what I'm talking about. When you lose that corner box, it makes it more symmetrical, and that's why I like it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And the question itself, the logo, it's nice. It's purple and yellow, nice font. And then you got a question mark in the middle of the Q, with the in the middle of the question mark.
It's great. Yeah, it's very nice.
Yeah, this cover's a 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
cover's great.
Yep.
But
it's all downhill from here. All right, so
we open it up.
So I gotta point out, when I was a kid, I used to collect. It was called DC Currents. It was this little, I think 4 or 8 page little giveaway that you'd get in comic shops, and it would always show these comic covers inside. And I believe this was one of them because I remember staring at this opening splash page and thinking, this is so cool. We got this guy in this trench coat with a fedora hat on, and this rain is coming down. And it's dripping down the side of his hat, but his face is completely black. I just thought it was so cool.
Yeah, and he's standing outside like some little shack.
Right.
And he's inside the window. You see some guys like Looks like they're playing cards or something underneath one single light.
Right. Very cool. Yep. And so it's called The Bad News. And we got some third-person narration here, right? Pretty, I guess, noir-esque narration. It's pretty good. Denny O'Neil. And he's describing kind of like, the question state of mind, and basically questions outside. He kicks the door in, and these guys, I guess they're already standing up, and then he starts elbowing and punching these people, putting one guy through a TV, while the woman in the room, who we later find out is Lady Shiva, kind of just stands by and watches, right? She doesn't get involved.
Yeah, here's the problem I have with this opening sequence. Like you said, he kicks in the door, and then you said the guy's already standing up because we just see them standing. That's not good. We need to see him kicking in the door and their reaction to it. And
this goes back to, I believe we've talked about that book, How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, right? Have we?
Yeah,
it's excellent.
Oh, yeah, we've mentioned it several times.
So, like, even that shot of him kicking the door, it's not a very good shot.
Nah, the leg's stiff.
Right, and if it was from the inside, it would have been cool to see, but even the next shot, the guys are already there. Wouldn't you like to see a shot of them kind of like getting up from the table, like all shocked, right? And then he comes in and starts fighting. So you're right.
Like if Kirby's doing this, the camera's inside the room. We're getting a shot of them reacting to him kicking in the door from like he's in the left side of the panel maybe, and they're in the foreground up here close.
Right.
He's kicking it in. Yeah. I don't like that. And also, we have no idea that lady's in the room until
exactly
the first time she appears. It's a close up of her face. It's a nice close up. Good looking lady, but we have no idea who she is, what she is, because we haven't established the characters in the scene. So it's
agree.
Wait, what is happening? So yeah, this opening sequence is pretty clunky.
I agree. And then like we follow it up, like a guy pulls out a gun, and he's sort of in the foreground. Question's in the background. Then Question throws a chair at him, then hits him over the head with it.
And that's the thing. He doesn't. I thought he threw. Yeah, it's weird because I thought he threw. But he just swung the chair apparently to knock the gun out, and then swung the chair.
And then swung it. Yeah.
But I don't know. It's again weird.
Yeah.
Bad storytelling. But, all right.
So then you see a guy coming from behind the Question, but again, it's not very dramatic because he kind of comes from an off panel, hits Question on the side of the head.
Yeah, if you're not looking carefully, you will not notice a guy coming up behind Question.
Right. It's poorly done. And so then the guy's down, and then they're like, let's see who he is. And then it ain't coming off. It's his face. So then he fights back, and then there's more elbowing and punching. And then...
How does he fights back. The guy's trying to pry the mask off his face. He's really up close to him, yet somehow Question kicks him in the face with his left foot.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
How would that be possible?
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And then the Question's like, the tape. And basically, so there's the MacGuffin. He wants this tape. And then, of course, the guy is like, giving you this is probably going to get me bad hurt. So answer me this. Who are you? So he just hands over the tape. Yeah. And then the Question hands him a blank piece of paper. And then the paper starts smoking. And then a question mark appears. And it's kind of cool. But then the guy says, question mark? And it's crap. And it's completely ruined. And then the girl says, you are half right. And then it cuts to the Question getting into a red Volkswagen.
This is so dumb.
I know.
Why, of all the things, you have this really supposedly badass superhero, and like, all right, what's his car going to be? I don't know, like a Mustang or something like a Corvette.
Corvette, yeah.
No, let's make it a red Volkswagen punch bug. A little Volkswagen Beetle.
Right.
What?
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
So dumb.
Wait,
we should mention, by the way, you mentioned he wears a suit and a fedora. The suit is always like a bluish suit, like a neat suit, kind of, just typical suit that you wear. Mm-hmm. And then he has like a bright orange shirt.
Right.
All right. And just keep that. That's his outfit, has the Question.
Yes.
And also, when his fedora gets knocked off, like his hair is still there. So he has blonde hair.
Right.
And, but just the features, like just his eyes, his nose, and his mouth are covered up. But his face is still the same shape, still has the blonde hair, still wears a blue suit with an orange shirt. Keep that in mind. And he wears black leather gloves, I guess.
Right.
Right.
So then he gets in the car, and the first thing he does is he takes off his mask. So now we see his real face. which kind of kills a little bit of the mystique, but whatever. So then we get
I guess the way he takes it off, like there's gas, he has to spray on it.
Right.
It looks like there's gas around his face here, so.
Right.
And that dissolves the chemicals or whatever.
So then the next page, he drives by some cops, a parked car, and the cops they try to pull him over, but then again we get an awkward scene where
do they pull him up? Like I don't understand this either.
It's confusing because he sees the cops and then he activates some leather, and then the next panel we just see a cop car and some papers flying, and then they go, "Do you see that?" So is the implication that he drove by them, that he passed them, that he took off? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, because he was already past them.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they were chasing him from the rear, and then it didn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. No. So then we see the same car that he was just driving, because instead of switching cars, and having like a secret identity car, he uses the same car. So now he's parked at the TV station he works for, and this is where we know it's for adults, because the guy says, "I'll have his ass for this." You see the second panel there. So anyway, so then Vic Sage comes in, and he gives them a cassette tape, and basically. Oh, crap. Every time I click on something, I get an ad here. Okay, so then he goes on TV, and without even really telling the station what it is he's going to do, he spills the beans on like a bunch of things. Like he's talking about the mayor, Wesley Furman, and how there's corruption in the Parks Department and the Parking Violations Bureau, and then the corruption spread to the Board of Education, and then they play a tape, and they're like, "Recognize the guy with the nose candy? That's Mitchell Doohan, our commissioner of schools." And so then the producer of the TV station is like, "Kill the tape," but the tape keeps playing. And so basically he's exposing all these politicians in the city, right? About
with that videotape that he got from the little shack.
Right.
And then we cut to some people watching him on the news delivering this report.
Right.
Like that lady and the guy who was in the shack that he gave him the tape, and on some other big bosses. They're watching this report. They're watching this reporter, Victor Sage, on the news with his blonde hair, blue suit, bright orange shirt.
Whoa, wait. Yeah, it is orange. You're right.
He doesn't change his clothes. He doesn't change anything. He just goes right from being the question mark to going on TV to talk about this tape that he stole from them. These people are watching this, and they're like, how did he get that tape? It must have been that faceless guy that gave it to him. Wait, no, it's the same guy. How could you not think it's the same guy?
It's pretty bad.
And this is that key detail I wanted to mention from the first question back in the Blue Beetle days in 1967. Back then, Ditko made it so that when he turned into the question, he put that putty on his face, sprayed himself with the gas, and the gas reacts with the chemicals in the putty, but it also reacted with chemicals in his hair and his clothing, so his clothing changed and his hair changed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So then, because he goes from being a blonde guy in like a blue suit to being a black-haired guy in a gray suit. You know what I mean? So he's different, in some way.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the same guy.
See, and that's a pretty cool low-tech disguise, right? Like you just kind of spray some gas and you completely change. That's a really cool idea. I like that.
Yeah, because of like the shampoo he uses or whatever and the laundry detergent, it changes. So all right, I'll buy into that, whatever. But this is ridiculous.
Right.
This is so stupid. Anyway, so who are these bad guys then watching, Mike? Some pastor guy, some like preacher. And,
well, it's actually it's a mayor and a preacher. What do they call him? Reverend.
Yeah, Reverend.
And then Lady Shiva's there as well, right?
Yep.
And then they're like. I provide my. Then she's like, I provide my services for a fee. I do neither less nor more than I was requested. I was not requested to protect a videotape nor to nurture the inept. Right. So.
Yeah, because they were mad at her not joining in the fight when the question showed up.
Right, because
she just stood there.
Right. So because when we saw the opening, we didn't know anything about her. We just think she's just some innocent girl who just happens to be there. Right. So then
maybe one of their girlfriends or something. Hanging out.
Right. But So then basically, so now who's this guy? I don't even remember. Is this the same guy? No.
Well, the scene cuts because someone tipped him off about the tape was hidden there at the shack. So they think this guy tipped him off. What do they call him? Milty?
Milty.
So now we cut to an alley, and there's Milty up against a wall. And the dudes that got beat up in the shack are now like interrogating him to see, hey, did you tip him off where the tape was and whatnot? And he's not talking to him. So there's one fella, what's his name? Baby Boy or something? Baby Gun?
Baby Gun, yep.
Baby Gun. Like a fat dude with, he's always eating candy bars. Look at all the candy bars in his pockets, Mike.
Right.
He's, and he has a little air pellet gun that can kill you if he gets real close to you. So he shoots the dude in the head and kills him.
Well, and this is, again, not great art because we see the gun up to the guy's temple. The next panel, it's the other guy looking at him. Then the next panel is... Which guy is that reacting? I can't even tell. Is it that guy?
That's the guy getting shot in the head because you can see the barrel popping up a little bit. But yeah, he's an African-American fella, and he's got like an afro. Right. And then when he's shot, that doesn't look like an afro. That looks
it almost looks like the other guy. And
hair.
Yeah. And the color's all screwed up because the wall goes completely red. He goes completely kind of like off pink. And then the next panel, he's just kind of slumped in like the garbage in the alley. But it doesn't really all flow together at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Storytelling is an issue here for Dennis Cowan in this book.
Yep, for sure. So then, and then by the way, I forgot to mention that throughout the story, the narration has been counting down how long
that's right.
Victor Sage has to live. So Charles Victor Sage has 16 hours and 14 minutes to live. And it's been counting down the whole issue.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, so now he's with his girlfriend, Mira.
Yeah, look at her.
Yep, looking good. They're kind of just going back and forth. And what does her shirt say? I think, is it Hard Rock Cafe? No.
I can't even tell.
I think they show it later on.
Yeah, that seems what it is from that first panel.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're waking up in the morning, and she's just in her underpants and a shirt, and he's getting cleaned up for work, and of course he puts on his orange shirt.
Yeah.
And she notices, this is my favorite part, Michael. She notices that his knuckles are beat up.
Right.
Like scabbed over. And wait, where did she say here? It says, Vic, your hand. I didn't notice it last night. You were too busy to notice anything. He was giving it to her good, Michael. Because then she says, don't boast.
Yeah, nice. Some clever dialogue from Denny O'Neil there.
But by the way, if we were to read all this dialogue, this guy's a dick. This
kinda, yeah.
Victor, not kind of. He's an asshole. Like, he is not likable at all. You know, they're trying to make him like super hardcore, I guess, like because this is after dark, like the Dark Knight and all that shit. Right?
Sure.
They're trying to make this guy real badass, but he just comes across as a dick and not likable, and I could not give a damn about this guy.
Well, the funny thing is when Denny O'Neil wrote Spider-Man, he made him a complete asshole. Like there was one issue where this woman was like, aren't you going to help my uncle? And he's like, your uncle works in the sea. I don't go in the sea. See you later. And he just swings away. Yeah, there's lots of moments like that in his Spider-Man.
That's Denny O'Neil's a gimmick.
Yeah.
And by the way, the girlfriend's t-shirt says Hard Stone Cafe.
Okay. Because they couldn't use the real one.
Yeah, so he just bails on his girlfriend. And again, he's wearing exactly the same outfit as he does as the Question. He looks like the Question.
Right.
I don't know. We get some exposition in here about his childhood stuff. But,
yeah, it's weird because the art, it's almost making it look like he's suiting up as the Question, but he's not the Question. He's just Victor Sage again.
He's always the Question.
Right. So then he goes to visit someone else here. Who is he going to visit?
This is his mentor. His first name's Aristotle something. But he's like a college professor who was his mentor, and this is the guy who invented the putty mask.
Right.
And so he helps him out in his adventures.
And this is a weird scene. So for a superhero comic anyway, so he is complaining, or not complaining, but he's pointing out that his mask is not sticking as well as it's supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So he puts the mask on, and then he releases the gas, and then Aristotle looks in his face, and he's like, it's reacting with the chemicals in your clothing and hair, and it seems to have reacted with your special aftershave to fix the mask in place. Oh, he goes, no, it is loose. Indeed, this does bear investigation. And then, the next page, as he's investigating, it's later on. I'll get back to that in a minute. So he just tells him that he needs some time to like figure out what's going on. Oh no, did I miss it? Oh, sorry, I skipped a page. This is the page where all of a sudden, in the middle of this superhero comic, Victor Sage lights up a smoke.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, "Didn't you quit smoking?" He's like, "No, I started again. Whatever." And so he's smoking. So basically the guy figures out, oh, I know why your mask isn't sticking. It's because it's mixing with the tobacco. So maybe if you stop smoking, your mask will work better. You know? He's like, I'll think about it, basically.
So kids, don't stop smoking. Just think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1987 was a wild time.
Right.
But yeah, he puts more putty. He keeps the putty in a belt buckle. And then he pulls the putty out, puts it on his face and everything. But... yeah, man, the more I look at it, because we're seeing him and again with the mask, I really think the way Cinkevich did it on the front cover is the way to go. Yeah,
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
But anyway.
So then Victor goes outside and he sees this homeless guy and he gives him some money, and then this is a security...
Well, he's not just a homeless guy, like, he's a guy he used to know as a reporter.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to say. Is this a cop or a security guard?
I think it's a cop. And he walks up and he tells the homeless guy to beat it. And Victor Sage grabs the cop and puts him in a hammerlock.
That's why I think he's got to be a security guard, right?
That's what you do to a cop.
Right.
Put him in a hammerlock.
But see, so this is where we find out that Vic Sage actually knows the guy. And he's like, he was a reporter once, a good man, a punk from the old Banyan gang, got mad and blew away his wife and 3 kids. If that happened to you, you'd hit the sauce too, so gives him a little lecture. Then, another awkward scene. So then all of a sudden, that same security guard that was just being like chicken winged by Vic Sage gets shot.
And again, I think it's a cop, man, because he's got like the badge on the hat and the side holster with the gun in it. So I think it's a cop.
So yeah, but it's weird because he's just like, ugh. And then the homeless guy says he's been shot. And then the guy is like slumped over Vic Sage's foot kind of, but it just looks really bad. And then the question, or Vic Sage is like, take care of him. Then, now again, I'm not a master storyteller, but to me, if you're going to draw a character in the next panel running away from the action, wouldn't you draw him running the opposite direction? Because by doing it this way, it makes it look like, is this the same street corner? Is it a different one? But just logically, to make your eye go away from it, you draw him running the other way, but they don't. And so he's running, and then he bumps into some guy with a mullet as Victor Sage.
I really didn't care. I didn't mind him running the way he was running, but I did mind the fact that this guy just appears in the third panel then, and like just the guy with the mullet just out of nowhere, he runs into him and he loses the gun. Like, you need to at least establish that guy in the previous panel,
Right. That's just bad.
Yeah.
So then Vic Sage basically like tackles him, but then the guy somehow is already up again, punches him. Then Vic Sage hits him with the can of a garbage can.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old ECW matches where they'd use the garbage can lids and stuff.
Right.
ECW. Yeah.
And so, now this is again more logistical nonsense, because then Vic Sage is like, the bullet was meant for me. Why? And then the guy says, your pal without the face copped the tape for me. Figured if I offed you, that'd make me even with the boss. They was gonna hurt me. And then Vic Sage just goes, hurt you. And then I guess he punches him. And there's all this glass.
Yeah, your pal without the face. The one who looks exactly like you. Same haircut, same suit, same gloves, everything.
And drives
same
the same
size,
car.
same height, same weight, same everything, except we can't see his eyes and his mouth. That guy, he took the tape.
Right. So then he puts the guy over his shoulder, brings him to a cop car that just happens to be there, and then he's holding him up by his jacket. He kind of hands it off to the guy. And, and then he starts so he's talking to this cop, and I guess the cop's name... Oh, no, this is the Reverend. So this guy just walks up, and he's like, Mr. Sage, he's like, you're Hatch, aren't you? The Reverend Jeremiah Hatch, at your service. And he's like, the mayor's pet sky pilot, right? And so, again, it's awkward, because, where are they going? I guess they walk into... What the fuck? Yeah, I just read this, I don't even remember what happens.
But I guess they're going into the Reverend's little charity place. But yeah, he tells when he holds up the shooter to the cop, he says, there I am doing your job again for you officers. Yeah, thanks, buddy. And he says, they wouldn't let me, I passed the IQ test. Because he says, why aren't you a cop? He says, they wouldn't let me. So this guy's a dick. This question is just a dick.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So then someone in the studio goes, "Good afternoon, Reverend. All set to tape tomorrow's sermon? Mr. Finch, I prefer to think of my humble efforts as messages, but yes, I'm ready." So he starts doing this little thing on camera, talking about, he's like, basically talking about Vietnam and dissension and all this other stuff. And then basically it's a sermon. We cut away, so that ends. We cut away.
So I guess they were walking into the TV studio.
Yeah, but was Vic Sage still here? Like, where did he go? I don't even know.
I don't know. Yeah, he just disappears.
It's confusing. So then we cut over to Jimmy's bar, and we see some guy having a drink. Do we know who this is?
Yeah, the guy on the left is the guy who was in the shack that he beat up originally.
Right.
And he was the guy in the alley that killed that dude. He was holding him while the other guy shot him. And then the guy on the right is the homeless reporter outside the station who...
right. Well, good thing you're paying attention.
Yeah.
So then the redhead guy gets into the car with Lady Shiva.
Oh my God. You know how I could remember them? They're all wearing the exact same clothes. Kind of like The Question in Victor Sage.
That's right.
That's how I could remember him too.
So then,
anyway.
I love this scene. So the redhead guy gets into the car with Lady Shiva. And then he kind of puts his arm around her and he's like, "I figure you owe me for standing there while the no-face guy did a number on me." And then she grabs his hand. He's like, "Yow!" And then the next page, she's like, "If you ever..."
Well, my God, he says something else. He says, "Yeah, you owe me." But he also says, "What say me and you go someplace where you can be nice to me?" And then he puts his arm...
Right. So then she says, "If you ever touch me again, I shall shatter 3 bones in your arm, the humerus, the radius, and the ulna." And then she goes on, "I shall shatter them in such a way that shards will protrude into the nerves, causing intense pain. I shall shatter them in such a way that no Western doctor will be able to repair them." Man, if I had a dime for every time I heard that from a chick. But anyway, so he's like, she's like, "Do you understand?" He's like, "Yeah." So then we cut over to Vic Sage in his apartment with his girlfriend, smoking up a storm, right?
Yeah. That's not going to help the mask stick to your face, Vic.
Right. So then anyway, so then so who is it that's calling him? I don't remember who's setting him up.
When the guy in the bar met with the homeless guy tipped him off, or he told him, or that guy told the homeless guy, they rigged up something where he's supposed to tell Victor Sage to meet him at a dock or something.
Right,
That's what that meeting was about or something.
Right. And so then the call comes through and he's like, "Pier 26 at midnight." He's like, "They think I can't smell a setup." And then his girlfriend's like, "Don't go. Hey, I wouldn't miss it for the world." So he's going to go anyway.
He's a badass.
Right. So then we cut over to, is this the Reverend again?
Yeah.
Okay, the Reverend is driving with who?
Yeah, someone in the backseat there
Brother Furman?
I think that's the mayor, right? Or I don't know. Who knows? Who cares?
Yeah, they're calling each other brother, but yeah, I think it's the mayor and the Reverend. And then we cut back over to Vic Sage. He's putting his mask on. He's becoming the Question. He's jumping over a fence and landing, doing a squat. It's really awkward. And then he's like, now it's snowing, so he walks into the snow and he gets confronted by Lady Shiva. And it's kind of cool because she's very casually just like, do you have a preferred style of combat? And he's like, "Lady, last time we met, you stayed out of it. Do yourself a favor and follow your own example. I don't want to hurt you." And she says, "Don't you?" And then the next page, she just beats the shit out of him, right? Like flips him over, elbows him, punches him, kicks him, like just beats the crap out of him. And then
so this badass Question gets just decimated by Lady Shiva.
And then like the other guys come in, and then one of the guys hits him over the head with a pipe, and his head is bleeding, and hits him again. And again.
And they notice they use the same panel of the pipe hitting him in the head. They just like changed the size of it to make it look different, but it's the same panel.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't notice that. Yeah. That's lazy.
So he gets clunked in the head like 1, 2, 3 times, at least 3 times with 4, because then their butt ended in the head. Yeah, he would be so dead. Like, he would just be
Right.
super dead. And then that guy with the air gun goes over and he shoots him in the head.
Right. Pretty violent.
And
so
when they're picking up his dead body, the one guy says, "Hey, look at this. Baby slug came out the back of his head. Air guns usually ain't that powerful."
Right.
Oh, well, to the river, brethren. And they just throw him in the river.
Yep. They drop him in the river. He sinks down to the bottom, and then the narration says, "Down, down into the freezing depths. A minute passes, 2, 10, as the husk of what had been Charles Victor Sage settles into the sand and is cold and silent and still." And then it says, "The end." And we see his mask floating off his face. And that's it. That's the last issue of the question.
Yeah. We can only wish. But, Miguel, I had to read ahead. Because I'm like, well, wait a minute.
Yes, I plan to as well.
Because I was like, is this like a Spectre situation? Remember, like the same thing happened to the Spectre. He went down to the docks to try and break up the criminal.
Right.
He got shot, stuffed in a barrel, thrown in the river, and then the spirit of vengeance came and turned him into the Spectre. So I'm like, is that what happens here? Is the question? Like some mystical hocus pocus? But no, he survives, Miguel. Even though he had his head crushed with a lead pipe several times, shot in the head at point blank range with that air gun, thrown in a river, not for 1 minute, not 2 minutes, but 10 minutes. He was underwater for 10 minutes. He survives.
So wait, you're telling me that... I thought this was like their opportunity to kind of like reboot him and give him more powers. Does anything happen to him?
No, that lady Shiva, she comes back and rescues him.
Oh.
And they even say it took her over 10 minutes to find him. And they say usually everyone would drown by then. But you somehow survived. It's a miracle.
Oh, see, that's bad.
And the air gun, they made a point throughout the issue of saying that guy just uses an air gun with a pellet gun, and he has to get real close to kill people. So they were saying throughout the issue that it's not that powerful. And I guess like the mask that he was wearing slowed down the pellet, and then it hit his skull, flattened against his skull, shot along the side, and came out through his skin on the back of his head. So I guess theoretically that could happen. But the lead pipes to the head would have killed him. And then the bullet to the head, and then the drowning. There's no way you survive all this. You just don't.
No, see, because I thought they were setting up for something like a new power or something, but no, it's just...
Well, I think what happens... I didn't read the whole issue. I just saw that part. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking stupid. But that lady Shiva, she rescues him, and then he goes to train with her in some like wilderness somewhere. He learns like martial arts and the art of being like more Zen-like. Because, Steve Ditko was all into objectivism. Denny O'Neil, I guess, was all into Zen philosophy. Okay. And then, like, every issue after that, they would have some philosophical lesson to be learned or something.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's still a dick from this point on. Maybe they made him such an asshole in this issue because they're going to show how he changes and becomes a better human through this philosophy and everything. So I could kind of get that. But if you want me to care about this guy in this first issue, you have to give me something to like him. And there is nothing in this whole book that would make me give a damn what happens to Charles Victor Sage or whatever. Nothing. Not one goddamn thing in this book.
I like his mask.
Pretty bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be better if it was flat, I think. But anyway.
And by the way, I got to point out two things. If you skip ahead to the very, like, Dennis Cowan does get better as he goes along. You can see his style evolve.
There's some panels in here that are really nice, and then there's just some that not so much. And I'd say towards the end of the book, like you're saying, the end of the book's much stronger.
Right.
Than the beginning.
He's probably just starting out, so that's probably why. But yeah, it's like, again, that opening splash page is really cool, but it seems like he's one of those guys that's good at certain things, but as soon as you pull the camera back and you see action, and you can tell that he doesn't know where to place bodies, and he's not good at storytelling, right?
Yeah, the storytelling was the biggest problem here.
Right. But yeah, like when there's a close-up of a face, some of them are really good. Like Lady Shiva's face, Victor Sage's face.
I'm trying to see when he started, because this probably was something early in his career. And, just because it seems like a rookie penciler.
Well, I also got to point out that I forgot about this, but in what year was this?
This was 87.
Yeah, but in 2010, after it was canceled, they came back and they did a 37th issue of The Question, and it was by Denny O'Neil and Dennis Cowan. So they came back, they reunited, which is very cool.
Yeah, Cowan's his first work was in Well, his first published comics work was a 3-page story in Weird World Tales 93 in 1980. So that's pretty good. That's a 7 year later, I guess.
Yeah, I guess he should be better, but well, I mean, he's never been one of my favorite artists, but I do like his style. He's got a pretty cool style.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in here too, but yeah, the storytelling was a problem.
Right.
So not the best. The writing was really annoying to me. Just Denny O'Neil trying to hammer home that this question's such a badass. And
right.
There's a discussion he has with Aristotle about literature and philosophers that was really heavy-handed and pretty terrible. And yeah, I don't know. I didn't like any of this. And I actually did want to like it, Michael. I really did. But the stuff about his still wearing the same suit, nothing changing, like it's just ridiculous. The red Volkswagen Beetle, why?
Yeah. Well, and the thing too about the art is that it doesn't like, in a way it's cool because it's a little bit gritty, but it doesn't really suit. Well, I guess it's just not good enough for the character. Like, if this came out later on, it'd probably be like a Darwin Cook type artist or something like that. I'm not even sure if you know who he is, but
I don't mind. I think the style could work because you're trying to if you're trying to be gritty and stuff, and Cowan sort of has that feel to him. But you would like something cleaner, like isn't?
I don't know, just something like I do like the grittiness, but I guess he's just not that good an artist yet. And like instead of focusing so much on like drawing the detail of the question and Vic Sage's face, make it a little bit more like Alex Toth, like shadowy, right, and mystical, like play up, like, you know how in the first Batman movie when Batman appears, the people who see him, they don't know what his power is, like they think he's like, it's all mystical, so they should play that up in this comic where everyone thinks he's, you know, mystical and has all these powers with the gas and everything, but the fact that he just walks away, gets into a red Volkswagen, pulls off his mask, like there's no mystique to anything, right?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I like the gimmick. I like the idea of the question, but the execution was pretty bad, didn't it? Like,
yeah, I agree. Well, that's another strike against Denny O'Neil.
Yeah. So I don't know. What do you give the question? 1 out of 10?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, to be honest, I did want to read what happens next, so I was going to give it an extra point. But now that I know that it's not good, I think the highest I can go is 4 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll go 3, and that's giving it a point for the Cinkevich cover as well.
Yeah, that's a good cover.
Yeah, I just did not enjoy this at all. Sorry, question. I like the idea, though. Like, yeah. Surely by now they've had to have other series of the question, right? Here in 2022, there had to be another run of it somewhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's been versions of it ever since, but none of them have really caught my eye, so I'm not sure how good any of them are, you know?
So I'd like to see someone else's take on this.
Right.
Like, just make it a little better.
Right.
And, all right, so there it is, the question, not so much. Michael, next week it's my pick, and for only the 3rd time in the history of this here fake radio show or podcast or whatever, I'm going to pick a book from DC Comics.
Whoa! What's the occasion?
Well, this is one of my favorite guys when I was a kid, and we haven't picked him yet, and I just kind of remembered we hadn't picked him because I was going to pick something else. I was like, wait a minute, we never did that guy. So next week, from 1978, Black Lightning, issue 10.
Whoa, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, we never did Black Lightning, right?
No, this is number 10?
Yeah, we're going to go number 10 because it seems like you've been picking a lot of issue 1s lately, and I picked issue 1 of 18 last time. And the idea of flea market fantasy, you're supposed to just pick random issues that you find in a flea market somewhere, you know? So I was going to go number 1 because number 1 has a nice cover and everything. But I was like, let's go something else. So in issue 10, a circus is involved. So I'm like, all right, let's do that. Circus.
You know what's funny is I believe if this is by Tony Isabella, then I've read this.
Yes, it is Tony Isabella. Yeah.
There you go. So I've definitely read this. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading it again. Oh, The Trickster. Cool.
The Trickster. And I think the artist is something like Trevor Van Deen or something like that?
Trevor Von Eden, right?
Von Eden.
Yeah,
right.
Von Eden.
Oh, maybe it's Trevor Von Saz.
Yeah.
So
well, that sounds like fun
Black
to me.
Lightning.
All right. There you go. So you can listen to every episode of Flea Market Fantasy at www.comicbooksyndicate.com. Each week we pick a different comic book from the Bronze Age. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. Be sure to listen to every episode, and until next Tuesday, disperse!